Welcome to the Ozark Radio Hour, brought to you by the Eureka Springs Independent and the Inside Straight Thanatopsis Club. I'm Richard Pille.
And I'm Jeremiah Alvarado, and we're your hosts for about an hour of purely organic radio. Always fresh, always local, and always honest. Kent Crow is away today, toiling somewhere in the halls of justice, helping the poor, the lonely, the disadvantaged avoid the shameless shackles of an unfeeling system.
Is that what you call what he does? I thought he was squeezing nickels and dimes out of people headed to the slammer.
Well, Richard, I'm trying to make Kent sound more honorable than he is. But let's leave what Kent is doing to the imagination.
Okay. You know, Kent, handsome face today is being replaced by Tracy Johnson, who is here in person. Tracy, hello.
Hello, Richard. Hi, Jeremiah. Always nice to see you.
Were you afraid to cross the river when you left the People's Republic of Eureka Springs?
Oh, please don't turn this show into another East River, West River insult fest. Okay. We get enough snarky commentary about that non-existent problem from the guy who produces the show and the lawyer who's not here.
Yeah.
Do you mean Dan Croats? Why are you so mean to him? He's a very nice guy.
You're kidding, right? Croats is about as nice as bedbugs. I know the guy for 10 years now, and he's never said a kind word to a living soul. Snarky is a very good description of him.
Do you mind if I come into the program and say a few words in my defense?
I don't know how you could, but please, try.
Well, I'm definitely glad to see you. I think you, Kent, Richard are all awesome. Kent, sorry about all this.
He's not here, so we get to take as many beats at him as we can.
Well, thank you, Tracy. You know, radio is a tough business, especially when you have to deal with star-studded egos, such as the ones Richard and Jeremiah are routinely displaying here. Anyways, Tracy, thanks so much for the kind words, but enough about me. How have you all been? You know, Richard, are you recovered from your long motorcycle journey?
You know, that motorcycle journey brought me a sense of peace and quiet that I haven't had since I met you, really. It was like a candle in the corner of a white room. It was very meditative and peaceful, and it has given me insight into the wondrous place where we live.
You're making my stomach turn over.
Sounds like a peyote trip. Are you sure you actually made it?
And along with it were wonderful people that I met. Got to see my son on the reservation and visit him in his little castle on the res.
So are you being sincere now?
Yes. I've been sincere about the great trip it was. Dan, before you get too old, you need to get on a motorcycle and take a ride. You've categorized everybody, what do you call it, geriatrics on noisemakers or something to that effect. Highly mortgaged noisemakers.
Can you please do us a favor and let us know what day you're going to be out riding your bike?
Yeah, we got to film this one.
Or just stay off the road.
You would find an inner peace in it.
So, but you did have a good trip.
Great trip. Met my traveling partner Tim Brown's father, who is just as kind and sweet a human being as Tim is. Know right where he gets it. It was just a fantastic journey.
You know, here's a little story about the boss and I. When we were married just a few years, we would go out to the Badlands every year. And we'd go out for 10 days and we'd camp. I don't know if any of you two, Jeremiah or Tracy, if you've been to the Badlands.
I have.
But we would start walking out and we'd get 7-10 miles out on a hike and nobody around. Nobody ever goes that far out in the Badlands. And we'd take our clothes off and we'd spend 5 or 6 days naked walking around. And it was just the most beautiful, beautiful, beautiful time, and great, wonderful spiritual place. Really love
When are you going to share the peyote with Jeremiah and I?
Yeah.
I'll keep the peyote out.
We got here too late this morning.
So, and I can see the two young people here wrinkling their nose at the thought of this old person being naked out in the woods. But at one time, believe it or not, I looked just like you two.
I never believe it.
It's a very very wonderful, peaceful place. The Black Hills, the Sacred Hills, the great spirit that resides in that part of the world is truly there.
Absolutely. And Tracy, I'm glad to see you on the show. How are you finding the experience of working with Richard and Kent and Jeremiah? Are they as mean to you as they are to me?
Surprisingly, no. I say to myself often, I have no idea why these fellas are so nice to me.
Well, because you're a pretty face. It's not like, we have to look at our ugly mugs.
Oh, true.
Well, it's more than that. You're a champion for the community and the music world of Eureka Springs. I don't think there could be a better ambassador.
If one person learns about an artist they had no idea of prior to our show, that's really all I was hoping.
Well, for someone like myself who is in bed by 10 o'clock at night every night, being able to know who the new music people are in the community is really fun. And I get to take a nap and come out sometimes late at night and hear at least the first set because the exposure you give these people.
I have to say, I don't get out into the nightlife very often.
Well, you're lucky because we're going to start having Saturday afternoon shows on the patio.
All right.
At Chelsea's, and a band that's got a really good response from one of my segments. They're called Rosenbridge.
Yes.
The fellow that
Love
plays
those
the
guys.
cello. They're actually going to be back late September, and they're doing an afternoon show on Saturday on the patio.
Okay.
And it's a free show, so there's no excuse. I say this every week. Pick up a magazine, check out the schedule, come see us. This is a perfect example, and children will be allowed at this show. They're allowed inside of Chelsea's until 8 o'clock. So I expect to see you there.
All right.
You're on the spot right now.
Shall we go, Richard?
Absolutely.
All right. Tracy, how is it that you got so interested in music?
Well, in 1982,
Oh, my goodness. Okay.
I lived in Lubbock, Texas with my family, where my uncle, who bless his soul, his name was Billy Ross, he was a musician, and he played at the very first open air concert, headlined by Ernest Tubb. And that is the day I fell in love with music, and that is why I work with specifically the type of music I work with more intimately than other types.
And this was in Lubbock, Texas?
Lubbock, Texas, yes, sir.
Do you know Larry McMurtry?
The writer?
Yeah, the guy who wrote Lonesome Dove.
Yeah.
Wonderful writer. He said Lubbock was the worst town in the world.
It's, well, I drove by there going to and from Austin. I've driven, and I stop in Lubbock every time, and I sit with Buddy Holly's graveside for a little bit. And the first couple times I drove through there as an adult, my vision from a child is totally askewed from the reality of the situation. It is... it's so windy and flat that it's continuously like a tone of sepia, or however you pronounce that. It just literally is like an Old West movie. Yeah. I since then grew up in Northern California with tall, tall trees. So going back to Lubbock, Texas was quite a depressing sight. Sorry for everybody. I know Texas has its own charm, but when you're used to big, tall trees, it's quite a change.
Yeah. But no, I like West Texas. I like that. I love that abstract quality of sky and earth, and they just kind of meet, and there's nothing in between.
It's great to go through.
Yeah.
And not have to stay.
Okay. And Jeremiah, how about you? You appear to be holding your own and, giving as good as you get as you relate to your elders.
Well, Dan, I got sick of Kent running the show, so I even made the third side of the coin this week, especially for him, with certain word choice that I figured he would take notice of, and he's not here.
So it was Kent who is the dinner guest that you're referring to.
No, notice I said dinner host.
Dinner host. Oh dear.
But there is some weird choice in there just for Ken. But sadly, he's not here this week.
Well, anyways, we're so glad to have you here, Jeremiah, and just for our listeners, Jeremiah is taking my place in the next couple of weeks, and I'm going to be moving into the background, not the nursing home, but the background. And
I think this is remarkable. How many years ago was it that we started this thing?
We'd 7 years.
And all that time, it was that we know that sooner or later, somebody with some talent is going to take notice and take this thing over from us.
It'll be.
And it's happening.
It's happening,
Dan.
So
I think it's wonderful.
So how are you feeling about being in charge now?
Yeah, you know.
No, I don't.
Excited, I guess.
Exciting?
Well, I think it's magnificent, and this transition that we're going through is part of that organic radio.
Yes,
that we've tried to husband since we've been here.
There is a season for everything,
and it's somebody else said that, didn't they?
Turn.
That's right. Anyways, I hope you'll be as available to insults and as I have been. I mean, you are the new target. I can't wait for the arrows of outrageous misfortune to shift to you. So,
well, I don't think that all of them. You know, your everlasting input into this program will need to be discussed. You're not off the hook.
Off the hook,
Mr.
Okay.
Protz.
All right.
But what's next here today?
Well, I think it's time for the third side of the coin.
All right. Here's Jeremiah and the third side of the coin.
Hey everyone, this is Jeremiah Alvarado with the third side of the coin. Now this week has been strange, and it's been one of the strangest I've seen since I began broadening my scope. Mixed messages and fights between JPs has left me a little disheartened, but I'm not here to talk about any of that just yet. Instead, let's talk about video games and education. And for those who suggested to broaden my scope, this was planned 5 weeks ago, so don't think too highly of yourselves. Now, why do I want to talk about video games? Well, it's because of some things a dinner host said to me a few weeks ago about virtual reality. And before I continue, I need to thank that dinner host for unwittingly giving me so much material to shamelessly prove him wrong. Now, I cannot take direct quotes from this particular dinner host, as it's been a few weeks, but the gist of what they said was that virtual reality would be able to become highly applicable in schools in the future, to which I have to disagree. I'm not denying the application. I'm simply stating that the application will probably not happen. But why? Well, to start, it's money. Yes, that sweet-smelling but poisonous fuel. It's the reason the idea of video games as educational material hasn't taken off. There's a major lack of money in it for companies that publish video games, and part of that reason is due to the stigma that video games have negative effects on children. That stigma still affects how video games are perceived, even by school districts and your typical bystander. And a publisher isn't going to try to advertise to those who don't feel that video games are useful, as it costs too much money to change people's minds. Oh, and by the way, anyone who still tells you that video games only have negative effects on children are looking at studies from the 80s and 90s that have become outdated and disproven 10 times over. But sadly, the media can't get over those studies because they make for easy scapegoats and nice headlines. Another issue, and one that is perhaps a smaller one, is mechanics. Now, in terms of virtual reality, the mechanics seem simple, right? Put a headset on, hold 2 nunchucks with buttons, and point and click, right? Yeah, on paper, it's easy enough, but if you have ever played video games and just tried to pick up a controller and play, it's not the easiest. Yes, young kids do learn quickly, but due to every one of us learning differently, it can quickly become a development nightmare for developers to make universal controls, especially on something that is only now just succeeding. And these controls have to be easy to learn and have strong application, and that is the difficulty. Finally, we come to hardware. Now, the actual hardware that it takes to run virtual reality is, to be frank, expensive. If you were to buy a computer that runs virtual reality, it gets pricey, going from $900 to $1,200 to meet basic hardware specifications, let alone the price of the bloody headsets, which is also pricey, which will range from $600 to a couple $1,000s for the leading brands. Whether or not the VR comes from a game development aspect or not, the hardware is still too bloody expensive for schools to buy in bulk. A school might be able to afford one or two for a certain class, but honestly past that, it is a large amount of money. Now, before I leave, I just want to say a few words to City Council. City Council, as I see that you guys are pondering the banning of cigarettes in city parks, I would just like to say, good on you. Stopping the possible start of forest fires is a wise decision, but honestly, it's not far enough. You see, since cigarettes can cause forest fires, you have forgotten that campfires also can just as easily start a forest fire. Which is why, City Council, I ask for you to ban all campfires in city parks, including Leatherwood. As DeVito did say, profit is not a good enough reason to allow harmful behavior. Let's face it, folks. Campfires can be harmful to the environment. I dare say, ban the campfire. Oh, and I would like to also ask for JPs to keep their arguments to flame wars on the internet. At least on there, the only thing that's going to get hurt is pride and feelings. So this has been Jeremiah Alvarado, on the third side of the coin, wishing all of you the strangest of weeks.
Well, gamers have had a real reputation of being absolute sloths. If they don't have a TV screen in front of them, their thumbs are the size of footballs because it's the only thing they use. And this is my perception. So you're telling me that it's wrong, that the gamers have some value in life. I know that the Army and the services try and get gamers because they can fly those drones and kill people without any kind of a regard for human life. So gamers do have value besides all that.
Yeah. And Jeremiah, what video games do you recommend for people?
Are we being serious here, or are you just looking for...
Well, I don't know. I've never played a video. I've played Asteroid.
Yeah, okay.
That's the last video game I played.
I played that Pong.
There's a new video game I saw on social media. You can play from the perspective and viewpoint of a cat.
A cat?
Okay. Yeah. So in any event, no.
Well, there's a whole world I know absolutely nothing about.
It is a serious question. What games do you play?
I think it would be easier to go for what types of video games I play.
All right.
First-person shooters, multiplayer arena games.
First-person shooters?
Yes.
What is that?
To describe to someone who isn't part of the genre, part of the...
is this where you go around shooting people with, you know, this sort of...
okay, it's like...
pretend mayhem? Is that what's going on?
Well, I mean, if you wanted to put it in old man standards, yes.
So you're at war.
Well, put
virtual
it in
war.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, sure. Virtual war with other players.
Okay.
The beginning of spectator apathy and the desensitization of the next generation.
Now, hold on. It's not the start. It's happened. It's been here a while. That's what the online battle arenas are for.
And this one I'm vaguely familiar with is Grand Theft Auto.
I actually don't play Grand Theft Auto.
You don't?
No,
Okay.
Not my cup of tea, personally.
Okay. And how do you feel about how video games demean women?
In my opinion, and this isn't everybody, and I don't say it to be, mean or anything, but honestly, screaming out that it's happening without actively changing it isn't going to do anything. Sorry, but it's not. You just need to go out and change it if you're really that upset about it. And honestly, it has changed. In the 80s and the 90s, yeah, it was pretty strong. But nowadays, strong female characters in video games isn't an uncommon sight. In fact, it's become mainstream for it to happen. Looking at the Halo saga has multiple strong female characters. Looking at some of the battle arenas where the characters aren't necessarily in the video game, saying anything in the video games, but like the way they portray them in like commercials and trailers and that kind of thing. It's not an uncommon thing for strong female characters to be around. We're not in the age of the original Tomb Raider games where women are sexualized as often anymore.
Okay.
Doggone it. I was just about to start playing.
The new Tomb Raiders don't do that either. The remakes.
What's so interesting to me, and you can take this the way you want, when I was your age, and I think speaking for you as well, Richard, we were actively involved involved in the anti-war movement, protesting the war in Vietnam, and then, of course, getting drafted and having to go there was, the aftermath of that sorry story. So, my generation was focused on an anti-war movement. Your generation is playing war on with your thumbs. Is that a fair assessment?
You're putting two things together that are just such a wide gap between them.
Yeah. Well, let me ask this question then. Why isn't there an anti-war movement these days?
Pretty sure there is, Dan.
Would it actually be safe to say that there has been a huge desensitization, and all of these things will play into it? Video game, news, media. We are bombarded with these terrible images that we see visually, but we're not actually involved in. So there becomes a separation between the actual event and what we're doing. So when we see real footage of what's happening in war on TV, do you think it's possible that people who've grown up, not with a healthy balance of all these things, it's kind of being compartmentalized like all the other media things as something that maybe isn't as real in our lives?
I'm glad it's not real in many lives, but it was certainly very real for our generation.
Well, it's very real right now. I mean, we've been in the same war since.
Tracy, are you saying that you think these video games desensitize people?
I'm saying video games, along with other things, have to some degree, but that's not saying that necessarily it's the video game's fault, Jeremiah. I will give you that. There needs to be a healthy balance of parental or guardian interaction, as well as a healthy dose of not playing a video game and seeing the real world, so you can put the two realities together and come up with the actual reality, not the virtual reality.
I can agree with that. I would just like to say, though, that a lot of because you use some of the same phrasing that the media, I'm sorry, I'm really loving to rip them apart, has used for years about us,
But you are the media, Jeremiah.
I don't consider myself that. No.
Well, you are,
but it's
part of the media, and you have the opportunity to make those changes that we're talking about.
But I think the problem with that, people don't see with video games is video games are a very useful way to explore both who you are and just different situations. We look at the Deus Ex games that explore the idea of racism, that explore the concept of political injustice throughout, and the entire series is based on that. And it allows you to explore those kind of concepts and the consequences of them. We look at the Halo games, which explore religious fanaticism. And while they may not be always actively exploring those, they are exploring them nonetheless.
So you're saying that video gaming can be a portal to critical thinking?
Yeah.
Indeed. We used to have to read books for that.
Perhaps, but the difference between books and video games is that video games are active. You're actively taking a role in what happens. Books are a passive role.
Oh, spoken like a gamer.
Well, again, it's something I've never done. Since there was an asteroid game in a bar in southeastern Nebraska, and we put our quarter in and played asteroids and wanted our initials to be at the top of the list.
There you go.
I have a confession to make before we move on. I'm not going to lie. When the first Nintendo game came out, I played Super Mario Brothers for so long that the imprint of the game was permanently affixed to my TV. So I'll come clean about that.
All right. Well, I'd sure be interested, any of you listeners have an opinion on gaming, to let us know what you think.
I'm thinking that maybe we should give Sharon Laborde a chance and listen to Welcome to the Conversation. She's interviewing Jackie Christie, who's a writer and a resident right now at the Writers' Colony at Derry Hollow.
Welcome to the conversation. This is Sharon Laborde. I'm with Jackie Christie at the Writers' Colony at Dairy Hollow. Jackie is here from New York for a residency at the Colony where she will be working on a screenplay. Her career in New York has spanned 23 years, where she established a small theater that offers 2 performances almost every night of the year. She is a writer and director and an MFA candidate in the graduate film program at New York University, currently working on her thesis, a full-length film. We're so happy to have you in Eureka Springs, Jackie.
Well, I'm so happy to be here. It's gorgeous here.
Well, great. First of all, I am curious about what brought you here to Eureka Springs. How did you get connected with the Writers' Colony?
Oh, that's such a great question. About a year and a half ago, I was looking around for ways to escape New York City, a city I love, but a city that I also love to escape from. And I really needed to hunker down and write for a couple weeks. So I just did online research and I read amazing things about this colony, and I'm so glad I came. So I was here for a whole month last summer.
Oh, were you?
Yeah.
So you're familiar with our little town then?
Yes.
And it's charming and we love it.
It's amazing here. I never want to leave.
I know. I feel the same way. You're here for how long this time?
So this trip, I'm about halfway through a 2-week stay. So I only have, 6 more days,
And you're working on a screenplay, is this correct?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, before we get into that, if you don't mind telling our audience a little bit about your background. I understand you are the daughter of a theater director, so you've been in the theater all of your life, or been influenced by it, I'm assuming.
Yeah, I definitely have been in theater all my life. I was on stage for the first time as an infant. They needed a baby, so my dad was like, here, take my daughter, put her on stage. And I was hooked immediately. And I did shows growing up. I would be in my dad's plays, or anytime anyone needed a kid, I was dying to be in it. And then I actually moved to New York with the desire to be an actress. And then I didn't really love being an actress. It's really a lot of rejection.
Oh, so I can imagine it would be a hard road.
Oof, yeah, it's tough. It's tough. Mm-hmm. But I was happy because I switched gears, and now I'm more interested in writing and directing anyway. And I think it helps that I used to be an actress. You know, when I'm writing dialogue, I kind of imagine how somebody might say the line, that kind of thing.
Sure. So that kind of leads into a question about your screenplay, although I'm getting ahead of myself on my question list, but I don't care. When you write a screenplay, how do you visualize this? Do you go from a storyline, or do you, like a novel or a short story, or do you think about it originally as a production, as a stage play or a television play? I mean, how does that work? Or are you even aware of the process?
That is a great question, and I have to say today it really came up for me a lot, because I have a habit, which is kind of a bad habit actually, of writing scenes, because in the theater it's all about scenes.
Sure.
You go from this scene to that scene. Scenes can be 20 minutes long or longer. They can be long in a theater production. And it's all about the characters and the dialogue and whatever dynamic is happening between the characters. But I have learned that films are not like that at all, and they end up being talky. And I have adapted some of my plays to, into films, and they become visually not interesting enough to just watch 2 people talking in a room. It's just not interesting. So this is like this terribly bad habit that I'm trying to cure myself of writing these very long, talky scenes. I've been trying to figure out a better way of structuring my work so it's more visual, and it's not just a series of scenes that I've kind of put together, like a necklace with little beads. That's not the best way to do it for a film. It's better to structure it like crazy and then write the scenes last. But I don't do it that way. I do it all wrong, basically.
Okay, well, see, that was my question. I wanted to know if you started with a plot outline and then how you proceeded with characterization. But everyone does things their own way.
Yeah.
And it works best when you do that, I think. I was just simply curious about that. How on earth do you manage, did you manage to to establish a theater in New York, and how do you work such a busy schedule? And I mean, I can't imagine. Did I hear correctly that you do 2 productions a night on some occasions?
Yeah, I mean, on almost every night of the year, we have one show in each space. So we have 2 spaces, and at 8 o'clock, there's a show in both spaces. So it's very intense. It's Lower Manhattan and Tribeca, which is a great area.
Sure.
And to keep the place going, we have to keep it super, super, super busy. But I will say that there's a whole team of wonderful people who are there, mostly volunteers, but not all volunteers, who help run the theater. So I'm really lucky. People work really hard, and it's a very talented bunch. So that's good. But yeah, it keeps me pretty busy.
And you're in graduate school.
And I'm in graduate school. So it's funny, I've been trying to write and do nothing but write since I've been here. But today, for example, a flurry of emails came in about the theater. We had to do some repairs. It's an beautiful old space, but it's old. And a whole bunch of emails came in about these other film projects I'm working on. So even though I'm here just to write, I feel like the world it keeps invading me.
They're not going to leave you alone.
No. And I don't really want to be left alone completely, but I feel like if I could just isolate myself just to write for a couple of weeks and then go back. But life doesn't stop, obviously, just because I'm on a writer's retreat.
Well, but at least you've been able to come to Eureka and slow down. Yes. Your pace is slower here. And that's one thing I think so many creative people like about Eureka Springs is the pace of life here. It's like a southern town, but at the same time, not like one, because it's a unique place.
Oh, it's beautiful.
We really love it too. So your screenplay that you're working on, without giving anything away, can you give our audience a hint about the subject matter, or are you ready to do that? I'm not pressuring you now.
No, I'm always happy to talk about it. There are a lot of things that I haven't figured out yet because it's in process. But the title will give you an indication. The title, the working title, I should say, is Redemption of a Midlife Doormat.
Oh,
so yes, a person who's kind of a doormat, kind of a lovable loser type of character, who hopefully through the course of the story redeems herself in some way and kind of finds a strength in herself that she didn't necessarily know
marvelous.
She had. Yeah, she kind of returns to an old dream. She had a dream of being an artist as a young woman, and she gave it up due to a kind of a tragic event that happened. And 20 years later, she returns to that, and she's been dismissing this dream, and she thinks, oh, it was a foolish dream of childhood, blah, blah, blah. But then it never quite lets her go. It kind of clings to her, so she does finally return to that and have a sort of an artistic rebirth, I guess, a little bit like that. I'm hoping it's kind of a combination comedy drama. So hopefully it'll be funny.
Well, now, is this your thesis that you're working on? Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, how can we get to see it?
That's a great question.
If it's a thesis, now you've got my curiosity really up. I want to see this film now.
Well, I am so glad that you're interested. You're my first prospective audience member, so that's fabulous. So
you can bring it back to Dairy Hollow.
Oh, I will.
And we will have a great grand opening here.
I would be
That
thrilled.
would be fun.
I would be so thrilled. We actually read 10 pages of it at the writers, at the Poet Lodge.
Oh, yes.
So much fun. I requisitioned everybody there to read the
Sure.
So much fun. So yeah, I mean, the idea is I finish the script and then I go into pre-production, which is going to happen within the year. So that's soon. And then all kinds of crazy things happen. So in pre-production, I'll be casting the lead role. So I need a fabulous, funny, but also dramatic 50-year-old actress or somewhere around that age. Doesn't have to be exactly 50, but 45, whatever, 55. But I need someone who can carry both the drama and the comedy and not overplay either one. It's a delicate balance. And then once I've got the casting done, then you find the locations and then you do the fundraising. And I mean, there's a whole bunch of things. And then I shoot the movie. Edit the movie, and then you start submitting to festivals. So it's a whole process, but I'm very excited.
I'm so excited we got to meet this afternoon, and welcome to our little town. It's just been a pleasure being with you today. And I know your time is valuable. So thank you for sharing just a little bit with us. And to our audience, I'm so pleased you could join me today on Welcome to the Conversation. I'll be back soon with a few more ideas about writing, interviews with fascinating people, and reports on the creative spirit that is alive and well here in the beautiful Ozark Mountains of Northwest Arkansas and Missouri. And thank you again, Jackie Christie, for being with us today. Please stay tuned now for following brief message.
Are you an independent author looking for a publisher? Cahaba Press is open to a limited number of submissions. Check out our guidelines and writer's service package on our website for print and ebooks. Cahaba Press offers editing, formatting, and cover design at a reasonable rate. Your book will be digitized for upload to Amazon, and you will retain all rights to your intellectual property. That means you keep all your royalties. Your book will also be listed on our website, cahabapress.com. That's CAHABAPRESS.com, with a link to Amazon and their worldwide marketing platform. We take care of our writers. Email publisher@Cahaba Press for more details. We look forward to serving you.
Many, many thanks to Sharon and to Jackie Christie. And let me give a quick shout out to the Writers Colony at Dairy Hollow under the direction of Linda Caldwell and with an assist from Linda Lewis and many, many fine volunteers. They have created a marvelous environment for new and experienced writers to come and work on their novels, their plays, their screenplays.
And the Writers Colony also have workshops for morons like me to come in and learn sentence structure and how to write a little bit.
Have you actually done that?
I did attend a couple of workshops.
Okay.
It was very humbling to be sure.
Your sentence structure is yeah,
it's adequate. But not when you. Moving on. Tracy, who are you sharing with us today?
Well, today I'm going to be sharing with everybody Chris Harp. He is a solo musician here and in the area. He does periodically play with a couple different bands. He's going to share those with us. He was kind enough to swing by my place, so we actually had an old-fashioned front porch picking session.
Oh, great. This is, again, my favorite part of the show.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Ozark Radio Hour. This is Tracy. I'm here. I actually have a special guest who stopped by my place. Chris Harp is here. For those of you that live in and around Eureka Springs, you've definitely either been at a show with him or heard him play. I'm happy that he's become one of my friends over the last year. And he is a very talented musician who plays in several different bands, and we're going to find out about those things. Chris, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
The band that I get to see, or your art that I get to see the most, is actually your solo act, because you play more frequently around town. You play at Brews sometimes and at Chelsea's. Chris is also somebody that frequents open mic night at Chelsea's on Tuesday. So if you're looking for something to do on Tuesday, come down. Chris, do you have a band that you like playing in more than the other? Are you allowed to say if you have a favorite?
Well, right now, really, I'm not playing in any bands. I've been doing the solo thing mostly. But I had a couple different bands I played in through the years, Rock House and Dime Trip. Yeah, just did a reunion show with Rock House, which was a pretty good turnout. And just got word that Dime Trip will be playing at Chelsea's on New Year's Eve, so I'm pretty excited about that. But as far as that goes, to be honest, I enjoyed playing with Dime Trip more because it was more original stuff. You know, we wrote all of our music, and I did more singing and played different instruments in each song. So.
And what instrument do you play in Dime Trip?
I mainly did rhythm guitar, but we all switched off. We were all multi-instrumentalists, so I did a little bit of bass, a little bit of mandolin, a little bit of banjo.
And then the members in those bands, do they interchange, or different group of people in each band?
Different group of people and the same people, kind of. Well, the drummer for Rock House was the same drummer for Dime Trip. I started in Rock House about 2011, and then played with them for a year, and then started Dime Trip and was playing with both bands, and then just broke off to just Dime Trip. And then about a year down the road, the drummer, my cousin Joel from Rock House, ended up joining Dime Trip. So
okay, and Joel is Joel Walker, and he is a local businessman in the area. Is he an electrician or a plumber? Plumber.
Yes, very good plumber.
Yeah. So Joel Walker is in the area of Eureka Springs, and he's a plumber. Give him a call if you have any issues with your pipes. And Chris is getting ready to play a song for us. And what did you just tell me about this song? It's a special treat.
The first song I ever wrote back in 2008.
So time's ticking too fast. And here's Chris Hart doing a private acoustic version of this song for us. I hope you enjoy it. We'll meet you back here afterwards.
Sitting in a room now, don't exist, so I just stand there. No one out there can hear me. You find yourself looking in the mirror, and the answers to life are becoming clear, but you still don't know what to do. So you stand up, but you sit back down as you have a look around your town to see that nothing is exactly what it seems. Then I got caught in someone else's vision, and I thought to myself, did I make the right decision, or will I regret the next move I made? It turned out to be more complicated than I could imagine, but I know someday I'll make it, and till then I guess I'll just see it in my dreams. Time's ticking too fast, I'm moving too slow. The river's rising quick and it's about to overflow. Let's all tip our glass, have another toast. Don't worry about the past, keep moving down the road. Time's ticking too fast, I'm moving too slow. The river's rising quick and it's about to overflow. Let's all tip our glass, have another toast. You never finish last if you know when to fold. Too late to create a better world with less poverty and hate. It's never too late to correct the mistakes we made along the way. Are we too old to behold the answers to the questions that we've all been dying to know? Me, I'm just trying to spread some hope. Time's ticking too fast, I'm moving too slow. The river's rising quick and it's about to overflow. Let's all tip our glass, have another toast. Don't worry about the past, keep moving down the road. Time's ticking too fast, I'm moving too slow. The river's rising quick and it's about to overflow. Let's all tip our glass and have another toast. 'Cause you never finish last if you know when to fold.
Thank you, Chris. So I have to ask you, who are some of your biggest influences? Because I hear always a little bit of like the soulful stuff in what you play. Like I hear some reggae influence.
I get influence from all different genres. Really, I'm very eclectic. I listen to all types of music. But it's funny, I grew up listening to nothing but rap and hip hop pretty much. And then about 18, around the time I picked up the acoustic guitar and started writing music, I heard some Jack Johnson. I heard a few of his songs and his lyrics.
And then you still have that flow that you like.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah, it sounds great. I like listening to you. And we're going to hear another song from Chris, and this song is called, which one are you going to play for us now? Chain Smoking by Chris Hart.
Chain smoking, roller coasting, make the most of what I got. Heavy drinking, too much thinking, too much space between the hands on the clock. And I've been alive for way too long to keep singing the same old song. On and on and on and on and on. On and on and on and on we go. Well, I got more wonders than I got worries. I got more time, so I'm not in a hurry. Well, I'm less common, but I got more sense than everybody worried about dead presidents. Well, I bring it to you true, sing it to you real. Singing every day, I watch it change the way I feel. Singing till it's over, stop but not for long. And come back with a brand new song. On and on and on and I've been chain smoking, roller coasting, making the most of what I got. Heavy drinking, too much thinking, too much space between the hands on the clock. And I've been alive for way too long to keep singing the same old song. On and on and on and on and on. On and on and on and on we go. On and on and on and on and on. On and on and on and on we go. Chain smoking, light choking, on the ashes of a fire-eyed stove. Clouds rolling, it ain't storming, that's just me here blowing smoke. Making clouds of my own. Yeah, I'm just chain smoking, roller coasting, making the most of what I got. Heavy drinking, too much thinking, too much space between the hands on the clock. And I've been alive for way too long to keep singing the same old song. On and on and on and on and on. On and on and on and on we go. On and on and on and on and on. On and on and on and on.
Thank you, Chris. That was awesome. I love both of those songs. You're right there, very uplifting and happy. Much like you as a human being. Chris is always smiling and he's so much fun to be around. I love when I'm hanging out or going around Eureka Springs and Chris and his friends show up because they're all awesome, amazing people. And Chris has a show coming up at Brews, is that right?
Yeah, I'll be at Brews at the end of next month, September 30th, from 7 to 10.
So from 7 to 10 on September 30th at Brews, which, forgive me, I don't have the exact address right now, but they're up on Spring Street, kind of catty corner from the post office in downtown Eureka Springs. And Chris is going to be doing some solo music there. They've got great coffee, awesome craft beers. The crowd that goes there is always amazing. And it's a good spot to watch Chris because the acoustics in the new room are pretty awesome. And I want to thank you so much for taking time out of your day to share some of your music and your thoughts with us because we really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
And if you all want to check out, Chris has a personal Facebook page that he updates all of his shows on, and that is Chris Harp, ChrisHarp. HARP on Facebook. You can check out that page for updated show info. Also, I'll try to update you all when Dime Trip is playing. Remember, for sure, the next time they're playing is going to be New Year's Eve, and that's going to be at Chelsea's Corner Cafe, located at, and bar, cafe and bar. This is going to be in the bar part, though, not the cafe part. This is going to be New Year's Eve of this year. So we look forward to seeing you all at the show, because music really is medicine for our soul. Until next time, happy trails and safe travels from Chris and I.
Tracy, thank you so much for bringing Chris Harp to our attention. And where is Chris going to be again?
He does some solo shows. He plays at Brews a lot. You can check his Facebook page, as I mentioned, for upcoming dates. And the next time everybody plays, as mentioned as well, it's going to be New Year's Eve at Chelsea's, which is going to be fun anyway.
Okay.
So come on down. I'll be there. They'll all be there. It's going to be fun, groovy music.
Yeah. And let me give a personal shout out to Rosenbridge. Listen to your interview with them and listen to the music you played. I love their stuff. They're so elegant and intelligent. It was great music.
They're incredible. There's been more feedback about that band playing here than any other band since I've lived in Eureka Springs. There were a group of people that don't normally come out at that hour, such as yourselves, who happened to be there for the first part of the show. Of course, their melatonin and hot tea was calling, so they had to leave before, and they were all very disappointed that they missed the show because they wanted with all of their might to stick around. So again, it's perfect that they're going to be playing the Saturday afternoon show in late September, which you can check the Chelsea's webpage or my personal Facebook page. I post that schedule, because they're definitely a band. When you watch them, you can tell that you're in the presence of some serious greatness.
Okay, so later in September on a Saturday afternoon.
Yes, sir. Bring your kids down. Bring your walker down. I don't really believe that, but since you all like to make jokes, I figure I'll poke in the same direction.
All right. Well, good. I think that's it for today, but before we say goodbye, Richard, you need to start locking the producer's box.
Yes, so he can't get out.
Right.
I agree. I don't know how he got out this time. However, in the future, I think we'll be far enough away that he won't be able to actually come out of the box.
Good. All right. Well, should we say goodbye, Richard?
We should say goodbye. Everybody, thanks for tuning in to the Ozark Radio Hour. And until next week, adios.
The Ozark Harvest Radio Hour is a production of the Eureka Springs Independent and the Inside Straight and Thanatopsis Club. Richard Pille, executive producer. Dan Croats, producer and writer. Dr. Sharon Sloan, technical director. Dr. Fred Mayer, director of music. G.K. Chesterton, director of philosophy and content. Jane Pille and Bonifaci Fiacre, gardening consultants. Luca Brazzi, aquaculture consultant. Eddie Keever and the Fabulous Keever Sisters, advertising and sales. The Ozark Harvest Radio Hour is organic radio, always fresh, always local, and always honest. We are community radio. That means that if you would like to appear on the Ozark Harvest Radio Hour, we have to put you on. Contact us at the OzarkHarvestRadioHour.com, like us on Facebook, or look us up in the telephone book. Until next week, so long and be nice.
1, 2, 3, 4.